Should be good.
Good evening and welcome. Today is Thursday, February 5th, 2026. It is 6:07 p.m. and I would like to call to order the Town of Bowling Green Town Council meeting. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. And at the end of it, I will call for a motion to allow Dr. Chenault to participate in the meeting electronically. Ms. Davis. Here. Mr. Voigt. Here. Mr. Webb.
Here.
Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yeah, here.
Councilman Stork is not here this evening. Mr. Hageman.
Here.
Ask for a motion to include Dr. Chenault.
I'll make the motion to include Dr. Chenault in this meeting.
I'll second again.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor, raise your right hands. Welcome, Dr. Chenault.
Thank you.
All right. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything from item 1 through 4 that anyone on this council would like pulled out for further discussion?
I have a couple of things.
Which numbers?
Minutes and the administrative code.
I'd like to ask for a motion and a second, and then during discussion, you can tell us. Will that work for you?
Good to me.
I'm asking for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry to stop the train. One clarification on the ratification of the recent emergency declaration. It could be considered self-operating that it ends, but I think for just to be clean and absolutely follow the statute, I think we should not only ratify the declaration but also end the emergency.
I'll tell you what, let's back up here. Can you withdraw your motion?
Withdrawn.
Thank you. Let's look at item number 1. You had questions with the minutes.
Yeah,
Vice Mayor
actually,
Coyle.
Simple, since this is a formal document, on the votes in the back where it has all our names, can we put our first names on it?
Hey, microphone, please. Sorry.
So on the minutes in the back where it has all of our A's and nays, can we add our first names? These are official documents. I mean, there could be 10 different Hageman, Storks, Coyles, Voights, et cetera. So if we have our first names on this document, I would think that'd be great.
I don't think that's an unreasonable request. Can that be accommodated? Madam Town Manager.
No, in the future, yeah, if we do it in the future, that's fine. You don't need to change it.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and give me a motion to accept the minutes if they're.
Okay, I move to accept the minutes as presented.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you, John. Motion carries. You just keep doing that, okay?
Okay.
I need a picture of you up there. Okay, let's move on to item number 2, the emergency declaration. Ratification. You say we need to make a motion to end?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, so under state law, obviously it's an emergency. Your manager is able to declare it, but it does require council to later ratify that decision.
Correct.
I think it's also makes sense at this time assuming the emergency is over, the motion would be to both ratify the declaration and to end the current emergency status.
Okay, I'll move to ratify the emergency declaration and end the state.
So I have a motion from Councilman Voigt. Is there a
second.
second?
I'll
Second
second.
from Councilman Hageman. Is there any further discussion? I'm going to take a roll call. I would ask the deputy clerk to take a roll call, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd,
Yes?
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, RFP Pump and Haul Contract Award, Dreamfield Solutions. Do you have something to add to that?
I'll just give a brief background. We put out an RFP for our pump and haul services. We went through the proper procurement processes for that, posted it to EVA, had some respondents, and Drainfield Solutions was provided the notice of intent to award based on their lowest bid, which is a little bit cheaper than what we're paying currently. So staff is recommending approval there. And then as of for the administrative code section, we talked about that at the retreat. And the only addition that Mr. Gore has added is the emergency emergency powers for the town manager in the state of emergency. So just a bit of background there for that one as well.
Very good. So, can I have a motion to accept items number 3 and 4 on the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion. I move to authorize the town manager and the town attorney to execute the contract with Drainfield Solutions LLC in the amount of $257,920 and coordinate with the vendor all necessary details regarding the delivery of services.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second for item number 3. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Mr.
That's next 4. I'd like to take a roll call, please. Deputy Clerk.
Councilmember Hageman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Webb,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd,
Yes?
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next, item number 4, Administrative Code, Section 2. Our town attorney just spoke to that. What was your question, Vice Mayor Coyle?
Yeah, I just had 2 quick questions because I'm just confused on one thing. On the Arts Commission Advisory Board, do we even have one? We used to, they dissipated, or?
Right, I was going to get with the town manager about that for setting one up for this spring but we don't have one at the time.
Gotcha.
At this moment.
And the only other question I had on Planning Commission, commission members may be compensated for services. So when I was on Planning Commission for several years, I got paid $100 a year. We did. For some reason, when another administration came in, that seemed to disappear. Not sure why that wasn't. So I guess I'm confused here as may be when it was a B.
Yeah, they
So Planning
withdrew
Commission
payment
always
one time
did
and
receive a
council
payment.
didn't get payment, right?
So is this something that needs to be voted on again or changed? Or I guess the challenge is, after reading it, or Mr. Gore went through that, he had no idea that Planning Commission actually did get for many years a stipend.
Yeah, 100.
I don't know how that gets corrected. Or you just, whoever took it away.
I think it was that year that, the council didn't take a paycheck the whole year too, and I think it just never got back.
Gotcha.
No, it came back.
That was during COVID?
Well,
Or
no, the
after
planning
COVID?
commission side never came back, I guess. I was ex officio.
My
I wasn't
last,
getting any.
right, my last council, or my last planning commission meeting, it was the end of the year before I took this office, and I got a check. We did not get a check for 1 year. Now, I can't speak to it since I've been sitting in this seat.
So I think council can give direction if you all want that included in the budget process for planning commission, and I believe that EDA can be paid as well. So I just need to know who you all want to be paid and how much. And
That's fine.
we can do that.
Okay, all right, that clears my confusion.
Right.
Because I don't think this precludes it from that.
No, and it should be tracking state law. I mean, so there's provisions for these commissions and bodies to receive essentially a per diem, but, for the meetings be paid, but it's not a mandate.
Right.
The
No, I
council
get
do it. So yeah, to your manager's point, I think that's so this is just your code, your policy, you can decide, we're going to pay them the maximum or we're going to,
Right, I got you.
yeah.
Good.
Any other discussion? So, I'd like a motion to accept item number 4 on the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have first. I have a motion and I have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. John, thank you. Oh, what an evening. It's been a long day, people. We will now open up this section to public comment. If you have something to say, please come forward, state your name, your address, at which time you have 3 minutes to speak. Know that we are listening to you. Our rules do not allow for us to engage in conversation with you during this time. I would like to now open public comment. Going once, going twice. I will now close public comment. Moving on to member comments. Dr. Chenault, I'm going to start with you.
No comments.
Okay. Ms. Davis,
I have none.
Councilman Voigt,
I was only going to say happy birthday to Mr. Stork, but he decided not to be here.
well, happy birthday to you. Yours was Monday.
His was more recent.
Okay. Councilman Webb,
No comment.
Vice Mayor Coyle,
No comment.
Councilman Agaman.
Sure.
Go for it.
They're not here tonight, but I just want to acknowledge B&H Improvements for the great job that you did cleaning the business district of Bowling Green from all the, I don't want to say snow, but the ice. It was pretty bad. So kudos to them.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, staff reports. Item number 5,
I will fill in.
thank you, Mr. Bates.
Yeah, Mr. Bates is transitioning from his role in the residency, but hopefully we'll get someone from VDOT here in the future. I will just provide. Oh, you're here? Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't even see Giovanni. You can come on up. Sorry.
I didn't know who you were, I'm sorry.
Button on the bottom. Yep, you got it.
Hey, good evening. My name's Giovanni Esposito. I'm the Assistant Residency Administrator with the Fredericksburg Residency Office. As you mentioned, Kyle has moved on to bigger and better things at the district office at this point. So I will take on the role of doing a quick transportation briefing on a few of those items that we discussed before. I apologize, I didn't send in any of my slides that I have here, but I'll go ahead and walk through them, and obviously if you guys have any questions at the end. Good evening, council members, town manager. Like I said, Giovanni Esposito with the Fredericksburg Residency Office. And I'll just give a few quick transportation updates. The first one I wanted to update you all on was the 207 northbound bridge project that's just outside the limits over here. That project is moving along very nicely. That is funded through our State of Good Repair program. So that's being funded with state resources. That project is a full superstructure replacement and some substructure rehabilitation that's going on there. Obviously, we have that current detour in place that's pushing all of the traffic onto those southbound lanes, one way in each direction. The current timeline that we're expecting, I checked with our construction staff this morning, is completion in June, by the end of June 2026. So it is moving along very nicely, right on schedule. The other one I know that there's a lot of interest in is the 301 Chase Street project. That is a $14.1 million smart scale project that is being funded through the smart scale program. The big improvement there is the continuous green tea innovative intersection at Chase Street and 301 over there, as well as closing some crossovers, some parking improvements, some lighting improvements, some pedestrian improvements as well. We're very excited about that one. We're looking at that one moving towards the right-of-way phase of the project moving forward in the fall. So in the fall, we will be moving towards right-of-way and utilities phase of that project and any of those impacts. And we're still on schedule for construction start in 2028 on that one. And then lastly, I know there were some other items that were passed along to me that I wanted to brief you all on that we were working on for you guys. One of those was crosswalks in the area. I know there was some interest in getting the flashers. We call them the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, similar to what we have over there in front of the food line on Broadus currently. We did evaluate the two main locations that were of interest. One of those being right nearby that one at the food line at the McDonald's area, right at that intersection as well. That one does qualify for rectangular rapid flashing beacons. It meets the minimum criteria. Really, those decisions are largely made on the kind of the lane configuration of the road, the traffic, and the speed limit on the road. So it qualifies. At this point, we don't have any funding identified for a project like that. Typically, it would require some kind of safety funding. Normally, we would recommend the secondary 6-year plan. However, obviously, 207 being the road, it is a primary road, so that's not necessarily the funding mechanism we can work towards on that. But the current estimate for it is right around $140,000 is probably what it would take to get that to install. But as I'm mentioning, we don't have any funding identified at this time. The other location was at North Main Street, right at the Atlantic Union Bank over there. That crosswalk location was being discussed. That one does not meet our minimum criteria for being recommended for these rectangular rapid flashing beacons. The speed limit is 25 through that area currently. There are some other solutions, potentially kind of narrowing the road through there to make that distance a little bit shorter that people are crossing, but that one does not qualify for the rapid flashing beacons at this time. A couple other things that was on the list. The yellow no parking at the corner of Main and Milford was brought up as well. VDOT does not paint yellow curbs, so that is not in our jurisdiction. We don't do that. I know a lot of times early when we're doing projects or development, sometimes those things are added in there supplementary, but as VDOT, we don't do the yellow curbs. We do, in some instances, do the no parking signs, and in general, we try to follow along with state code on those in terms of where we're putting them, particularly the state code requiring a certain distance from an intersection that you can't be parking within, mainly for site distance reasons and operations reasons, etc. But I don't know all the specifics or all the history on that in particular, but the yellow no parking curbing is not a VDOT thing. That is something that can be handled otherwise. I know that the 301 Chase Street project does do some improvements in that intersection that'll kind of narrow that up and maybe change some configuration there. But that is not us.
Excuse me, Giovanni.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you don't do the yellow curbs. Clarify that, meaning that you don't physically paint them, somebody else does it, or that VDOT doesn't approve of the yellow curbing. Which is it?
We don't approve or disapprove of the yellow curbing. I think generally, if it's in our right of way, like, we prefer to have a permit for any of that work to happen. The yellow curbs are supplementary in most instances to just no parking jurisdictions, right?
So if you didn't paint the curbs yellow, who did? I guess that's where I'm headed. I'm confused here. I thought VDOT took care of that curb painting and So now I'm really confused. Who's sneaking into town like a elf and painting the curbs?
No, that's fair, and I know in some instances, again, I don't know the specifics of that one. You know, fire departments will sometimes request yellow curbs and take that initiative for them if there's some operations reasons for that. But yeah, the yellow curbs are not something that we either maintain or install or particularly have code or specifications.
The yellow curbing got extended down if you're heading south on Main Street and you make a left on Chase.
Okay.
On the right-hand side, the Eastern Star is full of elderly ladies.
Okay.
They used to be able to park right there in front of the thing, and then all of a sudden, it's yellow and it's a no parking zone for them. And when I said, how did this come to fruition? I was told that VDOT did it because it's a state road and you couldn't park in front of the lodge. So this is why I'm asking you point blank. You're telling me y'all didn't do that.
We do not install yellow curbs. Yes, that is
Go
correct.
ahead.
I mean, my recollection was that the town did that when they went through and did the straight spaces on Main Street. I mean, that's when I remember all of
Okay,
that happening.
yeah.
So I think that was a town initiated, probably before any of us, but I think another town manager had all that done.
Can it be undone, some of it?
I mean, it sounds like to me, we can. VDOT does not care.
We don't have.
I know there's a certain distance from the corner you can't park, because on planning commission, we would have to deal with that.
Yep.
But again, I was very confused why all of a sudden the whole side of the street was no longer accessible. And
I think I can answer part of that.
go ahead.
So when Eastern Star or people like to park at the ice cream parlor, you line up on Chase Street. The cars are parked there. The problem is when you're coming to west on Chase and the cars are parked there and a car is turning from Main onto Chase, no one goes anywhere because all of these cars that are parked stop the car from turning and the cars that want to go west cannot.
And
It just creates.
I
safety
understand, but that has
That's
to
why
do
I
with the line of sight. And that's why we had the curbing there. And that's also why the stop heading west on Chase is the line is way far back. So there's enough turning radius for the vehicles. But then they extended it beyond because
Because it was so out of hand.
Okay.
I think that's so whomever the elf is.
okay.
That's what I'm surmising.
I want you to know, even as mayor, I don't have all the answers. I'm still finding.
If it helps, our Public Works Department and police will take a look to see if there's anything we can do to either undo or make it stand.
I don't think there's enough room to park on that street right there.
Well,
I mean, you got two lanes and they're both active lanes. And I don't see where you could park there. There's not enough room to pull over and still keep that lane open, my opinion.
They've been doing it for decades.
Well, time to change.
become a problem.
Anyhow. Are there any other questions for Giovanni? Go ahead, Mr. Webb.
There is an area, a gravel area just south of town on 301. Right where the off-ramp and, you familiar with
Yes.
the area I'm talking about?
Yep.
I mean, it seems to be an area that everyone uses to store in, commercial, industrial trucks, vehicles. Why is that?
Obviously, that is VDOT property in there. I think it is actually limited access property through there as well.
It is. Yep.
Obviously, we don't endorse or not endorse any vehicles that are parking there. At the end of the day, we would reserve it for authorized vehicles only. I think that's probably the intention. If a police officer needs to park there, etc. I will say that if vehicles are parking there and they're not authorized, it's well within anyone's right to remove those vehicles from the police department, state police, etc. As VDOT, I mostly care about the safety of the roads, obviously, and we want that area to be clean and and presentable for the town, obviously, as well. But I'm not necessarily going to police which vehicles are in there at any given time, if that's.
Yeah,
if that's a
I mean,
fair
it
statement
seems to be a
make.
lot of large trucks parked
Yeah.
there, and they park there over extended periods of time, maybe at night.
Sure.
Whose responsibility is it to police that? Or are we all allowed to park all of our stuff there? I mean, can I move my vehicles in there and store them and?
Obviously, from the
You know,
VDOT,
I'm
no,
just
I
curious.
understand your
Yeah.
point, right? And from the VDOT perspective, you're very correct. It is VDOT right of way. At the end of the day, it's that property. Again, the intention would be for it to be for authorized vehicles, like if we needed someone else there. But in terms of the enforcement of it, as VDOT, I'm not necessarily dedicating resources to going in there and policing that regularly, so long as it's not interfering with our normal operations.
Would VDOT be willing to entertain the thought of giving the town that land?
I don't want to speak to that. Obviously, the right of way and property management process.
I mean, it's not being used for anything. We could use it for parking and all kinds of stuff for our events and stuff in town.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that VDOT would at least be amenable to having that discussion. But in general, right, like speaking back to your point, we're not going to police which vehicles are in there from the VDOT perspective. We're not an enforcement agency in that way.
If we wanted to, I know at one point there seemed to me to be more signs, and then signs got removed, and probably, VDOT uses that as a staging area for certain construction projects while they're doing that over time.
Sure.
And I certainly understand that, but, at one point there were more no parking signs that were on the perimeter to help prevent that.
Okay.
But, when I drive by that, it just seems like a real eyesore, and it seems to collect things, and it's something I feel like we ought to, as the town, try to help to alleviate. I know that they probably do park there under certain events, but, just has more of an industrial look to me.
So we actually did discuss this at our retreat. And Ms. Adams-Jacobs could probably give you some additional info to answer some questions. Well, you could discuss.
In our conversations with Mr. Bates before he transitioned, we did talk about VDOT having a more involved role with maintaining the property so that it was not an eyesore. We have not since had those conversations, as this transition, I think, is relatively new. But also understanding that enforcement could be a shared partnership, so that in the event that there were vehicles there that were parked for a prolonged period of time, and if they became a nuisance, that obviously that's something we would have to work on collectively, because it is their property. So.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would also just add one of the other things that came up. I think there was a citizen comment prior about tree limbs in the right of way for our walkers, and Kyle did have someone come out and cut the trees back on some of those. I think there was 2 specific areas that needed to be cut back as those limbs were obstructing, and that might have been, I think maybe Ms. Giles might have made that at a prior meeting, maybe two meetings ago, and I think VDOT did come out and the chief did inspect that work while, as well as Public Works, while that happened. So.
Internally, if there's any other similar issues that you're having, let me know, and we'll be happy to jump on that from a maintenance perspective.
Giovanni, how often can we expect you to come and address this council, or is that something that we just request of you? Because sometimes there are times we wish we had VDOT here, and it's been difficult to get somebody here.
Sure, you can certainly request me whenever you'd like. I don't know how often that would be. I know we try to brief our localities at least quarterly. So if that's something that's in your preference, we're happy to oblige in that respect.
And may I have a copy of your business card?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
We will move on to item number 6, and that is the annual report and the monthly report. And our town manager, Miss India Adams-Jacobs, will review this for us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Enclosed is the report for our 2025 annual report that really just gives a full synopsis of all the things that were accomplished in 2025, which was kind of a record year for us. I will not belabor it by speaking to every item, but under the town accomplishments, under utilities, you see there with the grant funding that was awarded, the emergency projects that were completed, grant funding, planning, and implementation from our GIS utility mapping and asset management system that the town has wanted for several years to be in place. We have that now for internal asset management, as well as the $45,000 grant for our hydrogeological source evaluation project, which has helped inform our water quality projects, as well as pictures of one of the hydrants that was replaced as council directed us to replace those 3 poor hydrants. There's a picture that you see there. There's also proactive management of our system and programs that are looking to be put in place in 2026, one of which is on the agenda tonight, as well as a number of other items as it relates to town council priorities established at prior retreats, the completion of the audits, as well as connections to our teams, as well as economic development initiatives, partnering with our Main Street that has progressed this year, as well as highlights as it relates to business community engagement, regional marketing and tourism, as well as partnerships with the county. So, as well as improvements to our vibrant downtown. One of the images you'll see there is the improvement of our gateway signs. Prior, I think last year, Councilmember Stork, Chenault, and Webb donated their salaries, and the donation of those salaries went to the beautification of the signs for 2 of them. So we will hopefully have 2 more next year. That will be repaired as gateways into our town, as well as partnerships that we have with our schools, highlighting the 2026 literacy program. And this weekend, we'll obviously host that Caroline Reads events in our downtown, as well as a 5K in May. So just thanks to everyone who's been involved, including our staff and council, for direction and partnership through 2025. And then you have my regular monthly report, which highlights most of the operational and administrative duties throughout the month. And with that, that'll conclude my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the town manager at this time?
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank Ms. Adams-Jacobs for doing an annual report. I believe it's the first one in the history of this town. I go back to before Steve Manster when I asked for an annual report and I was told there are none. So I think it's an important document. I think it gives clarity to what the town is doing. It gives information to residents just to see progressive and things that are happening. And it is time consuming and takes a lot of challenge. And I really thank you and the staff for doing that.
Any other comments, questions? Moving on to item number 7, we would like to welcome up Ms. Hope Tolliver, our finance director. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right, so for my report, the status of the town audits, we were expecting to get a draft by the time of this report. We just received it 2 days ago. So we are reviewing that. So hopefully we'll get that finished sooner rather than later. In terms of Southern Software, we have gotten them to create a custom utility collections report that we can use for delinquent collections on utilities, along with our delinquent tax collections. And with that, we also have received a contract that we're reviewing with tax, TACS, for delinquent collections for our real estate and personal property as well. On the utility billing front, we investigated 31 vacant meters that was showing on our R&I system, and 7 of those were found to be active with usage, but they didn't have accounts with the town, so free water for people. And so all of those except 1 are now going to be billed accordingly. So we've gotten them to establish their accounts with the town. The most recent utility bill that was sent out in January is going to be due on the 16th. And those dates have also been added online with an external calendar for people to view as well, in case of, we know the mailing issue. So we have that out for people to view so they know when their bill is going to be due and when to expect a bill, and they can call and reach us, and we can send them a bill if they don't have a copy of it yet. We've had 5 town hall rentals, more than usual. We've been getting a lot of those, so that's good for the town. And then our leak policy and leak SOP that we created has been working very well for us. If people are thinking that they have a leak potentially and their usage is high, they'll reach out to our email and we do our due diligence to follow up with them. And we were able to have 4 account adjustments due to leaks. So.
Thank you. Does Sean let you know? I know he's contacted me before and said that I think you have a leak or something's gone because your meter's running. And sure enough, a hose had busted or something, which I very much appreciate because I don't want to have to pay for water that's running on the ground, and it's not good for our water system. Is that something that you were talking about? You're going back and taking care of this. Is that something that
Yes, so.
you're contacting people like he did me so that?
Yes. So since we had our training with Census back in December,
Right.
We all have, better knowledge of how to use that system and how to create reports for ourselves to see if there are any alerts or if there are any constant usage for different meters. So we can reach out and say, hey, you might have a leak. And Sean will either reach out or our billing department will also reach out. We have a shared email to stay in contact with those people and stay ahead of it.
Thank you. I didn't know if it was something that was
To expound just a little bit more, I would say the initial system that was put in place, I think when the meters were put in place in 21, most of the staff that were here obviously have transitioned out of the organization. And so I established a contact with the company, and we had an in-person training here with Public Works and Finance. And so we established some internal process there, which also identified a number of stale meters that either didn't have account numbers attached or some that were just faulty, and then some that were not connected to accounts, period. So in terms of a process improvement, we've established that process, as well as the leak door hangers that you all saw. So if there is a suspected leak, the Public Works staff goes out and puts that door hanger on the door for the customer, and then they have the ability to either call or email that leaks, email directly, and then staff between Finance and Public Works goes out to either inspect if it is more than the 24 hours based on the alarm, and then notifies the customers, and we give the customers the opportunity to notify us so that they don't have an exorbitant bill on the back end. So it's a way that we are improving, obviously, customer service and notification to the public.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Tolliver at this time? Thank you so much. Next, Chief Cecil, is he here? Is Taekwon?
Chief Cecil is away at the Chiefs Conference for his professional development, so we thank him for working on that to bring back great ideas to the town. But I'll ask Mr. Irvin to come up if he has anything he'd like to say on behalf of the department.
Good evening.
Welcome.
My first time up here.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I have no reports other than on behalf of Chief Cecil and myself, thank you for all you guys do, all the hard work you put in, and all the meetings that you guys sit and discuss things that I have no idea, but I'm learning. So just thank you again, and we appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Chief Cecil and Officer Irving for all of their work during the snowstorm, snow ice storm, during the emergency, as well as Public Works. Even though Mr. Fortune is not here tonight, they put in a lot of hours throughout that storm and emergency, as well as Mr. Smith, who helped with the communications, as well as Ms. Tolliver on the finance side in preparation for the storm. So thank you all.
Well, as you heard, Mr. Fortune is not here tonight, but you have a report for Public Works in front of you. And if you have any questions, email Mr. Fortune.
During this time, I'd like to bring something up. We had hired B&H to take care of the snow removal in Main Street. But in the past, we have done it from the light at the center of town, going north up to basically Anna's Hair Salon and then back down the other side. We did a little bit more this year because a lot of people, our businesses going down Milford Street now. I don't have a problem with that. I just think we need to have some type of plan set and forth so there's no question of who's going to get this done and who's not, because there was a lot of confusion. I mean, we thought we were done, and then somebody else called in the next day and they wanted their stuff done, and we sent B&H back out there to do it. I think we ought to have some type of a map of what area, when we do have something like this again, what we will take care of and what we won't, and people will know that right off the bat. Do we go farther? Do we take care of Union Bank? Do we take care of the Dollar General? Do we take care of Pitts and Mans? Do we take care of the gun store? How far do we go, or where are we going to draw the line? So everybody's got an understanding of that.
I thought our ordinance called for the property owners to remove their own snow in front of their either business or their home or whoever.
That's all
owns the
good and said,
property.
but I'm the only one that goes out and does it in front of the hardware store, and the town employees go and do it for the rest of the stores. They're not doing it. The owners of the other stores are not doing it. I'm the only one that clean the streets.
Well, a lot of the stores, they're not the owners, they're renters, so that's why they feel.
I'm just a manager, but I clean mine. That's my job to take care of the front of my store because I got customers that want to come in, but nobody else does it in town. And I'll say that again. Jose from Los Dos cleans his sidewalk too, but nobody else goes out and scoops their snow. They rely on the town employees to come and scoop it for them. And Sean come to me and he goes, "We can't scoop this." And I said, "I know you can. It's like concrete." And that's why we got B&H out there to remove it. But we need to have some type of thing, a draft put in, and maybe something in the town ordinances, what's required of the business owners are the renters of the business. I mean, I truly think if you have 25 feet of storefront and it's on Main Street, you need to clean your own sidewalk, period.
That's exactly what the ordinance says. The property owners of every building
Then why don't we enforce it? Why do we pay town employees to go out and clean it for them?
That's been a burn my side for several years now.
So
That can change tonight with direction to the,
That's,
to our,
why didn't the county clean in front of the courthouse? Why didn't the county clean in front of their building? Why didn't the bank do theirs? They know people were walking there.
No, I agree.
But I hear you, but our ordinance says the property owners and/or renters should clean that.
their own.
Who, at what point in time, told someone in here that the Public Works people should shovel snow because property owners couldn't do it? I don't know. This is way before my time. So, for me, we have ordinances. This is what the law states, but things can change.
Do we have a fine involved? Maybe that's something, I don't know.
I think that as we go through the code section revisions, that this could be something that could be brought up as a specific work session. I do agree that I think there were some operational decisions that were made historically and have not been changed. Obviously, we know that the code and our ordinances in some places are outdated and maybe not consistent with actual operations. And so if it is council's desire to have a map, a business district map where the town is responsible for cleaning that off for our businesses, because we say in some instances that we do want to be business friendly and support businesses. And then if that's something council desires, that can be established and codified if you all like from an operational perspective. And if you want to stick to that it is a property owner's responsibility, then that's something that can be established and affirmed. And then future public works staff, I will give them direction to not clean any areas that you all do not want them to clean. And if that includes a business district, that's something that can be directed and codified as well.
if the property owner, which is what the code says now, is responsible, it's not the renter's responsibility. It should be sent to the property owner, and the property owner can make his renter clean it up or not. That's between him and his renter, but the owner of the property is the owner of the property, period. Doesn't matter who's renting it. I know you have a problem with that.
I mean, the only thing that I would say, majority of that sidewalk is in public right of way. It's not owned by the individual property owners. I think if you go along, the property line is right along the building face. And so that sidewalk is a public.
Okay. Well,
The sidewalk is all owned by the state, but
I don't know how that affects anything.
Yeah.
It's just getting very technical. I'm just saying, from an ordinance perspective, maybe we want to keep that in mind.
Most
But
jurisdictions.
I think it would be a good idea for
clarify.
property owners to take care of it. I
Yeah.
think one of the problems we had with all of that ice, is the pile between the curb and the travel way where you would typically park, what do you do with that? That was probably one of the biggest items.
and it was a nightmare this time, and I mean, it was all ice. I mean, it just, Sean and them guys couldn't physically do it. And that's why we had it removed this time, and I don't have a problem of hiring them doing it, don't get me wrong. But like when we get 3 or 4 inches of snow, I mean, I think whoever's renting a store or owns a store should be cleaning their sidewalks. I mean, that's just the way it should be.
You'd almost have to impose a fine to make people follow through with that, or send them a bill. I'm not.
Maybe a lot of them
Do
just aren't
either
aware we're
one.
supposed to do it. I mean, maybe there should be a letter sent to every business, excluding me, because I always got mine clean. But,
But Randy, you would think that if you own a business and you want people to come in your front door, you'd
You
clean
would
your
clean
sidewalks.
it, exactly.
There was a flyer that went out in 20 or 21. It was when Melissa sent it out, and it was a reminder to everybody to clean up their own. Yeah. I don't know how much of the reason for that ordinance is to get it done, or if it's a liability check, though.
What we can do is put a reminder in our next newsletter. We don't know if we'll have as much snow between now and then, but we can do that just as a friendly reminder.
Bowling Green Bob saw his shadow Monday morning, and Bowling Green has 6 more weeks of winter. We don't listen to Puxatawny Phil. He's 2 states away. I'm just telling you, Bowling Green Bob saw his shadow. It's official.
Can I
Okay,
ask one other question about that?
go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
What,
Just 'cause
Bowling Green Bob? Or
Yes, but I was born on Groundhog Day. No,
I know.
I feel bad for all the groundhogs that are not getting. Nobody's liking them right now. No, I mentioned liability, so let me ask the attorney here a quick question. With things that are in the right of way and potential injuries and everything like that, what is the town's liability at stake for if we're directing the owners to take care of it? We've told them, but if we're then also going back and having our own staff clean it up, where does that put us?
We'll follow up with you on that.
Sounds good.
All right.
anything else? Let's move on to the utilities report. Mr. Jamie Solis is here to speak to us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present the utilities report for December of 2025. If you could take it to the next slide, please. So for the month of December, that is very difficult to read. It is better. Maybe I need glasses too. I'm getting older. I've never needed glasses. So, all right. So for the month of December, we had an average discharge of 0.08. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pull this up on my phone.
Do you want my council packet so you can look at it? Is there one next to you?
I might need to get glasses, guys. All right, so for December of 2025, we had an average discharge of 0.086 MGD, which is 86,000 gallons a day. Total discharge for the month of 2.656 million gallons, so that's just over the course of the entire month. The water average daily production was 0.139 MGD, which is, you can see there could have been some leaks where it didn't make it into the wastewater system, and a total monthly production of 4.322 MGD. So there's a pretty big difference there. That could be people using water that's not going down the sewer. Let's see. I'm controlling this. For wastewater, December operational notes for wastewater is continuing to have issues with the UV sensor, which Hayward came out and they provided guidance and changed some settings on the UV system so it didn't alarm. It's just kind of changing some set points. If the bulbs are on, generally it's disinfecting. The bolt anchoring points for the aeration system have degraded and need replacement. They're continuing to monitor and make necessary operational changes. That's always ongoing. For the water system, continuing to treat the water, continuing to treat the water with chlorine. All state required samples were collected and reported. The December water report, average daily water production, we went over that at the beginning, 0.123 MGD for a total of monthly finished water volume of 3.813 MGD. A VFD was installed at, it looks like it's,
Yeah, it's not.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. All right, so that last slide didn't exist. So that is the monthly report for December.
Are there any questions for Jamie at this time? Jamie, are you going to the plant tomorrow or?
I mean, I can if you need me to.
No, I just was, I have a water key in the back of my truck that Public Works left, and I thought if you're going there, I'd send it
If
with
you
you.
would like me to take it there, I can.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. There you go. Thank you.
It's down equipment. I don't want to lose it. Thank you. In front of you, you have your BGVA Main Street annual report. I read over this. This is some of the stuff that they have done. We don't have anyone from there tonight to speak about this, but you do have it. It is available online and it's in your packet. So we'll go on and move on to item number 12. And that is the fats, oil, and grease. The fog ordinance. Mr. N. Bowden, please speak to us about fog.
All about it. All right, I'm on. All right, good evening, council members. Good to be here tonight. So this ordinance is essentially allows the town to monitor and maintain a healthy collection system, sewer collection system, as well as a wastewater treatment plant. FOG stands for fats, oils, and grease, and they can be extremely detrimental. The word that we use in the industry is deleterious. It can be extremely deleterious to a wastewater treatment system, including collection systems, lift stations, the actual treatment plant. It can inhibit wastewater treatment. So it could wreak havoc on a system. On a force main, if we have too much fats, oils, and grease in the wastewater stream, it can actually close off and completely blind or plug or clog up a force main, a pressurized sewer main. I've seen it happen. I've cut a pipe in half, and a 2-inch pipe has been necked down to the size of a number 2 pencil. So fats, oils, and grease, it is a big deal. And we've worked with town staff, India and Piercy and others to identify additional ordinances that would be better suited for the town. This is an ordinance that we've worked with other utilities throughout the state, and we felt it was also needful here for the town of Bowling Green. But it allows the town to monitor and maintain a healthy collection system by requiring certain things. And those certain things are going to be for any facility that has the potential to produce or exhibit these harmful fats, oils, and grease. It could be a commercial kitchen. It could be an automotive shop. They have large stores of used oil that could be sent down the sewer collection system. We don't want that. So it allows us to have a pre-treatment system of sorts for the town, and we're allowed to go in and monitor. It requires the consumer or the customer to install and properly maintain and also keep records of grease traps, grease interceptors. And so if you have a Burger King, McDonald's, you have China King, you have a Subway, you have a Food Line. Food Lines are notorious for this as well. Say again? Domino's. So any place. So when they submit their plan, their package, they're going to have to include a grease interceptor, a grease trap that's adequately sized. And so the ordinance that we have here outlines that entire framework. It outlines the penalties. It gives the town some teeth, so to speak, to be able to enforce this ordinance, and it gives guidelines as far as sizing of it, what the appropriate level of treatment would be for any given situation. So happy to take any questions that you have. The background that's in this memo was put together, so that does explain it, but I would be happy to take any questions to provide further explanation if necessary.
Any questions from council? John, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
I've got a little bit.
Go ahead.
John, I think you need to mute.
No, it's not muted.
Okay, well, no, we're hearing some chatter coming from the phone. Sorry.
Oh,
There we go. If you remember, I was sitting through all your presentation and everything when you're doing this procedure through King George.
That's right.
How similar your implementation are you thinking here, being smaller? Like there, you were meeting with individual things. You had kind of a PSA aspect to it, and you had like 2 public meetings where like restaurant owners were coming in and everything. I don't think you need that much of a scale here, but
correct.
Where do you think in process wise?
So we would plan this similarly to what we have at other localities. My recommendation, the town can do what it deems necessary, but my recommendation would be to provide a letter to identified potential users or producers of fats, oils, and grease. And we can sit down with town staff and make a list of all those that would identify as such. Provide them a letter of the newly passed ordinance, and provide a schedule, an initial scheduled date for an inspection. And then to either town staff or if the town so chooses, they could have one of our compliance people come out, perform the inspection. Our compliance team is well versed in providing these inspections. We provide reports for other municipalities, and then we come out, we have a checklist of everything that we have to go through to make sure that it's, that they're keeping records. They're, having the grease trap pumped out on a regular basis, and they have records of such. They're providing maintenance records to us. they're also providing the proper notification training to employees that use the system. And so they may not know that you have to scrape the pans and, dispose of it in the trash can rather than, rinsing it off with hot water and sending it all into the grease trap to overload it, which then will overload the system. So they're providing, points of training, either signage or in their employee handbook. A lot of things that will be involved with this. So the first scheduled visit would be more or less an acquaintance, getting to know us, getting to know the town, familiarizing themselves with the ordinance, and then scheduling a follow-up inspection within 6 to 12 months from there. And then what our recommendation is going forward is, have an annual inspection. And so every year they kind of have a realization or understand that, all right, we're going to see some individuals from the town or Bowdoin coming out. They're going to inspect our grease trap. We want to make sure we have all of our records for them, and we're maintaining our grease trap appropriately. So that's how I would envision it going, because that's how we've done it at other utilities. But it
Sounds perfect.
It's town's call.
Yeah. Related question, with where all of our restaurants are they all going to just one lift station, or are they divested into two different ones?
Primarily, all of the users are gravity flow. So not many are being sent to a pump station.
Okay, so it's all in one. Okay, cool.
Right.
That's good.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you deal with non-food fats, oils, like someone who gives painting classes and things of that nature, oil-based, et cetera? How do you deal with that?
Or
Same
automotive.
process?
Automotive is the same.
Same process, yes. So like an automotive shop, there's grease traps designed specifically, to catch the specific gravity weight of that oil. There's oil water separators, primarily that's what they would call them. And so we would inspect them in the same manner.
Automotive, correct. But what about someone who has a craft store and they have regular painting classes and they wash and or dump paint down the drain? It's oil-based.
Yeah.
Is that similar or something, I mean, that would create the problem? Or?
Most of those paints are latex based, so they're water soluble. Wouldn't necessarily be deleterious, but if they are using oil-based paints, then yeah, that would be a problem. So I don't think the amount would consider them a significant user or a significant discharger. But that's a great question. I never had someone ask me that question before.
Well, that would fall under the purview of hazardous waste such as acids, strong cleaners, pesticides, herbicides, paint solvents, or gasoline. It must not be disposed of in such a manner as to pass through the grease grit interceptor.
That's right.
So, yeah.
This ordinance does give the town a wide brush that we can paint with so if it's not in this ordinance, it can say, this is being deleterious to our system. It's causing problems. We're going to need to regulate it. So it does allow the town to step in and put a halt to something if it's detrimental.
When I was reading through this, one of the questions was talking about putting different treatments down the sink for your own fat distribution. Would that be like Drano or something like that, and that messes up the town water system?
So and I've seen this before, and it never works. They want to forego having like a Valley Proteins or Darling Ingredients or someone coming out and pumping out their grease trap. They want to forgo that because that's a cost. And so they get a snake oil salesman to come in and sell them this chemical that they can put down their drain, which would make it into their grease trap, which would basically eat all the fats, oils, and grease and decompose it. You don't have to pump it anymore. Those sorts of things don't work. It's not effective, and it will eventually overload the system, and we'll see cause and effect from that. So that's really what that is pertaining to.
Okay, but like something like Drano, that doesn't really bother the
Drano
system?
won't really bother it, because when you're looking at Drano, I mean, it's probably a 32 ounce bottle. That's more of an acute problem that you're addressing, not a chronic issue here. So that wouldn't necessarily be effective.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Jamie at this time? So,
This is Mark.
Sorry, you can call me anything you want.
I'm sorry, Mark.
not late for dinner.
It's been a long day.
Yeah,
I
no,
am
you're good.
so sorry.
You're good.
Mr. Inboden.
That's a compliment.
There you go.
Jamie's a
Oh,
good guy.
You're going to be a
Stand-up guy.
ginger now?
You're right.
You're looking to actually schedule that public hearing. Do you want next meeting, or you got a different time in mind?
Do we have to have a public hearing for this? Is this
Yeah, to get the ball
okay.
rolling.
So,
Is that draft motion? Oh, yes, right here. All right. Well, I will move that town council advance the proposed wastewater regulations related to fats, oils, and grease to a public hearing and further consideration at the March 5th meeting.
I have a motion from Councilman Voigt.
I'll second it.
Second. Is there any further discussion? I will have the clerk take the roll call for this vote.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all. Good seeing you.
Thank you. Item number 13, I'm going to invite Ms. Tolliver back up to the podium. Ms. Hope, you're going to be speaking to us about insurance premium increase and cost sharing options.
Yes, so as you have in the memo in front of you, the town of Bowling Green being small, we get our health insurance for our employees who are eligible from the county, and they notified us of an increase of 11.5%. And so I've just provided some options for you on how you want to proceed with that, and I'm asking for your direction. Option one is that we would absorb 100% of that increase, which at a cost to us for the town would be in the amount of $7,092.96 annually, and that would obviously not impact the employee. And then the 50%, if we do 50% for the town and then 50% for the employee, then that causes $3,546.48 annually for the town and also for the employee. And then option three would obviously be zero additional cost to the town, but the employee would take on all of that increase. And so some considerations obviously is employee recruitment and retention, as well as the affordability of healthcare. I believe when I spoke with Ms. Adams about this previously, whenever we've had increases, the town council has opted to absorb it. So our staff recommendation is to go with option one, which absorbs 100% of the health insurance premium increase for the employees.
So this is $7,092.96 annually. Is that per employee?
That is annually. So if
Is that for the whole kit and caboodle or per employee?
for the whole thing.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, and so if you look at
Because there's 12 employees, that's why I'm.
yes, but there are only, so in the first paragraph there, which I kind of skipped over that, but for background, these options and that amount is only for the current 5 employees out of the 12 that are enrolled.
Okay.
So, for full-time employees that are opted in to health insurance, which I guess is something to consider if we go into the next open enrollment, which we're currently in after you guys make a decision on this tonight. There may or may not be people that will opt in. But as it currently stands, we have 5 employees enrolled. And so that number is based off of that.
I'd like to go ahead and just move that we go with option one.
If further employees in the future opt in, then obviously this cost will increase.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure that all of you understand that.
Yes.
So you made a motion that we go with option one. Was that a motion? Yeah. And do I have a second? So I have a second from Vice Mayor Coyle. And
Since the county didn't give us much time to make a decision, didn't it?
be nice. Is there any further discussion?
I want to say a quick thing. on that. Yes, we don't have a whole lot of time to make a decision. They did go with the similar thing. They're funding their portion, but they just did that at their last meeting. I would say that we are still, pretty lucky to be able to ride along with the county for that, to get the savings that we do get. Over time, if healthcare costs do continue to rise, I guess we'll probably eventually get to some kind of cliff where we can't keep meeting everything like this, but $7,000 is, we can still do that for right now. But be mindful of the future.
Any further discussion? Ms. Davis?
Yes, what percentage of the insurance, do we pay all of it? Does the employee pay any?
Yes, so the employee pays a portion and then we pay a portion. So if you look at the graphs for the options on the second and third page of the memo, that has a breakdown of the percentages for the ER, which is the employer portion, and then the EE, which is the employee portion. And the percentages are broken down for each of the options, as well as what it currently is. I guess to answer your question, overall, currently as it stands, the employer cost share is 90% as a whole, and then 10% for the employee.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Tolliver? So we have a motion on the table, and I would ask the clerk to take a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hagan. Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanel.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I guess you're still up here, Ms. Tolliver. You're next on the agenda, the budget amendment, number 14.
Oh, this.
Yes, so again, in your memo, we are asking for the approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $402,441 to provide supplemental appropriations necessary to complete year-end cleanup entries. As you know, we've been going through and cleaning up our financial records, getting through audits and such, and there are additional costs associated for the audit that need to be added in, as well as just cleaning up some things with moving around funds. So just to kind of give a slight overview of this budget amendment that we're asking for here. The first one is to move salaries from a vacant position that was for community development for contracted services. And then for the contracted services specifically, those are for USDA land use special projects that we have. And then the second one is for to increase the contracted services for Webb and Associates, and that will be for the use of fund balance in the amount of $150,000. The next one will be for the contracted services with CYM. Obviously, we've gotten through a lot of audits in 1 year, and so that cost is going to be needed for that. An additional amount of $70,000 from the use of fund balance as well. Next, we will have one for Stantec. 75% of that is to be paid with a state grant, but the other 25% will have to come from the use of fund balance, the amount of $29,000. For the EDA, we wanted to use the fund balance to allow for the FY26 expenditures, and they're proposing that we add marketing in the amount of $2,500, printing for $1,500, and the EDA loans and grants for $2,500. And currently, I believe that's 12,000 as of the last audit. So that 6,000 will come from that 12,000 from the fund balance. Next, for increased mailing and postage costs, for the water fund, 5,193,000 from the use of fund balance, and from sewer, 4,741 from use of fund balance, as well as from the town manager, town council contingency in the amount of 3,444. The next item would be for, to increase the part-time salaries for an intern, which is grant funded, and we already received the 4,000 for that, so that's just cleaning that up for the salary and wages, which is 3,964, and then the FICA that comes from that, which is $306. To cover the increased late fees and penalties for the IRS payables, that will come from fund balance as well. And so that is in the amount of $6,516. And then the last item would be to cover the increased audit changes, as mentioned, due to the multi-year audit completion. And that will be in the amount of $36,544.87. And so on your last page, just to provide the source of the funding, unanticipated revenues, 91,000, available fund balance of $307,996.91, and it has a breakdown for what is general, EDA, water, and sewer. The transfer between funds does net zero, so that's clean there. And the other authorized source is the contingency for the mailing costs.
A lot of line items.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to clean up.
Yeah, it's a lot, and hopefully nobody's confused. So
Yes, it is a lot.
correct my oversimplification here, but this is kind of cleanup because the key thing here is the revenue neutral aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like skipping your coffee in the morning because you're going to go get McDonald's for lunch. You're spending the money elsewhere. But when you're doing that to a certain amount, it has to come before us to agree that that was okay. Remind me, what is that amount that has to come before us? 1%?
I'm not sure the exact amount, but I believe, oh, go ahead.
The 1% refers to a state law provision. If your revenues increase by 1%, you have to have a public hearing.
I knew there was a 1% somewhere.
But I think this is shown by staff. It's a revenue neutral situation. Most of it's drawn from contingencies. It's moving, it's reallocating.
Exactly.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
My only actual question for it would be, is there anything in this that is lining us up for anything that's going to be recurring in the future?
I don't believe so. For the future, out of all of these things, I don't believe that anything is necessarily going to be recurring. Potentially audit as we're catching up.
That's fair.
But that would be the only thing off the top of my mind, which is good though, because we want to catch up our audits.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the supplemental appropriations as presented. No.
EDA, does EDA have any funding left from its last?
It's 12. Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's 12,000. So that will come from what you currently have. That's as of the last audited numbers for EDA.
The last time the EDA was functional was like pre-pandemic, and it was suspended. So we are now past that portion of the time where the EDA would have met. So we're confident that that $12,000, which is restricted for EDA purposes. The only reason that wasn't included in the budget was because the EDA wasn't functional at the time. You all have since appointed a full EDA, and unless you formally bring it into the budget, they can't use any of their funds, even though it's restricted for their purposes. So that's the purpose of just allocating the $6,000. They have not formally established any expenditures other than approving $2,000 for a rack card, which will be developed for tourism purposes. But that will at least give them some flexibility to have access to their funds, because right now they have no formal access to their funds.
Started at 25.
Are there any other questions?
No, I'll restate the motion I was making. I'll move to approve the supplemental appropriations as presented.
I'll second
Yeah,
it.
Jamie got hurt.
Mayor Gamble, I think I'm going to recuse myself from the vote because I do have a
guess that's
personal interest
you.
in one of the items.
I appreciate that. So, put that in your notes. Did I get a second? Did you, you took the motion. I wasn't in here. I apologize. We had somebody get hurt outside, so we're tending to that. They're getting him over to the rescue squad as we speak. You made a motion, you second. Any more discussion? And Dan's recused himself. Would you please, Deputy Clerk, take a roll call for me?
Councilmember Hagan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault,
Yes.
Motion passes 5 with 1 person absent and 1 person abstaining. Thank you, Ms. Tolliver. We are trying to get back on track with our Planning Commission appointments. I thought that's what we just did. Oh, we just did the budget amendment. Sorry. Financial consultant contract, Ms. India Adams Jacobs.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. In the interest of time, we are just requesting a contract amendment to extend that authority up to $145,000 for that amendment to that contract for financial consulting services for audit and pre-audit work that is required for our audit processes. So that's before you all for consideration.
Ms. Adams Jacobs, why is the amount almost double? Went from 75 to 145,000. That's a considerable jump.
It is, yes. When we started the budget process, obviously we make our best projections based on what what we assume the cost could be for those services. There's been a lot of cleanup work that has been necessary based on, unfortunately, the prior systems that were in place. And so we are trying to project the best that we need to get through the end of the fiscal year in order to make the requirements that we need for these audits, the rest of the audit work that needs to be completed to finalize 24 and 25 so that we meet our obligations that pertains to the loans and the grants that we also have on the table. So without that, doubtful that we will be able to meet our deadlines and obligations. Just for the record, we have worked with prior firms that have tried to attempt to help us with this. We entered into an agreement initially with Rhoda from Moss, but based on where the town was with those systems and their expertise and capacity, they walked away from us. It's the same thing with the Berkeley group that was helping us with finance at this time. So there could be substantial implications if we don't move forward with this item as it pertains to our other items for our audits.
Are there any other questions to the town manager?
Is this the only other outside agency that's working with us right now then?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone else has walked away over the last couple of years.
Is this the company that worked with Port Royal?
I believe so.
Okay. Dr. Chenault, do you have any questions?
No, I have none.
So I guess I'm asking if you want to make a motion as to how much or if at all.
I'll make the motion. I move to support extending the contract for Siam Financial Services to $145,000 for assistance with contracted financial services as directed by the town manager.
So I have a motion from Councilman Hageman, a second from Vice Mayor Coyle. Is there any further discussion? Our hope, Ms. Adams Jacobs, is that we won't have to spend the $145,000, correct?
I hope that we won't have to bring another amendment back to you to exceed it.
For more?
Correct.
Okay.
I would also share, this is, most localities at this time are obviously using outside contracted services for pre-audit work and audit work. And I think the county has another firm, and depending on the rates, they can range anywhere from $325 an hour all the way to $125 an hour. And so just because of our size doesn't mean that we are not subject to some of the same GASB rules that any locality or municipality is subject to. And they are becoming, often some of those mandates are becoming more rigorous and as we continue. And in the future, I would just say, as we bring in outside federal money, there are additional audit requirements that comes with having federal dollars. So in the future, even though we are in a better position with our new financial system, as there will be more requirements for closing out grants and loans that comes from different funding sources, there are oftentimes additional auditing requirements for that. So I don't want to mislead anyone to think that we won't need services in the future as well, just because we will be caught up.
Well, that is one of my questions. When we get through the 2025 audit and we get ready to start the 2026 audit, which our fiscal year ends June 30th of this year, since the entire 2026 year was under the new financial system, is our staff going to be able to do the pre-audit work at that point so that we don't have to hire those services out?
The town has always had pre-audit outside services. There's always usually a third party, because the way auditing works is they generally want a third party to help prepare financial statements, and then the auditors will then audit. The audit firm that we are currently working with does not work so closely with preparing the financial statements more than just purely auditing them, which is why that cost is a little bit lower. If we were working with other audit firms, you would see if they are preparing your financial statements, they have a separate team that does that, but those audit firms can range anywhere between the $40,000 to $50,000, $60,000. Those are the Brown and Edwards, the RFCAs. So the question really becomes not so much as the cost, it's who is doing the work. So there are pros and cons from having larger firms who can do that work, but then oftentimes they still want pre-audit work done based on kind of their rate per hour to make it worth their while. And because we are so small, that often means we are having to have third parties to help with that pre-audit work on the front end as well. So a long-winded way to say we're probably going to still have to have pre-audit assistance, but hopefully not at the clip at which our burn rate is currently.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion?
Quick thing. Looking back to budgets that I was seeing right around when I got elected and before, the pre-audit work in the budget was like 50% of the actual audit that was in there. So like if the audit was, say, 30, it was like 15 slotted for the pre-audit work. So they were always, like she said, they were always doing that outside.
Okay. Would you, Deputy Clerk, please take a roll call?
Councilmember Hageman.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we can move on to Planning Commission. We, over the past 3 or 4 years, have gotten kind of out of kilter with our Planning Commission appointments from council, so we're trying to get everything so we're back on the correct schedule. So, Mr. Smith, would you address this at this time, please?
Absolutely. So, yeah, as the mayor said, trying to get back on schedule with our planning commission appointments. The current planning commission town council liaisons appointment is expiring. So we ask that town council appoint a member to serve as town council planning commission liaison in a retroactive term from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
So at this time, I'd like to open the floor to nominations. I will tell you this, there are 2 members here who are certified. Actually, there are 3 members, including myself, who are certified planning commissioners. 4 of us, the town manager is also. So
Go there twice.
if you want to serve and you are not certified, you do need to know that within the first few months that you need to take your certification courses. And I'll be honest with you, I personally feel like every member of council should have to take their planning commission courses, because when this paperwork comes to you, I think I'm not speaking to you, you're an engineer, but I think that you would understand some of the stuff that comes in front of you when you're voting on it. So even if you're not a planning commissioner, I would highly recommend taking the classes. So is there a nomination at this time?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Voigt, since he's been on Planning Commission and there are matters going on that I really believe you should continue with at this point. So
I second that.
So I have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Thank you, John. So
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
you are our new old liaison. Thank you for your service.
So we
New
need
one,
to
same as the old one.
draft we need to read a motion.
Oh, yeah, we have to.
Can you, before you read it, can we just make in the motion on the very last sentence, Bowling Green for a term
That's
of
what I just,
A,
we just voted on.
A term of 1 year?
no, A, just the letter A.
A.
You already voted on
We did?
Yeah, that's right. We just
Oh, I
took a
didn't-
vote.
Didn't even, I
Yeah.
don't even remember saying yes.
Nominated and not second. You probably really didn't make a motion.
Yeah, Jeffrey went
I was
around
gonna say
after,
that
so,
wasn't-
yeah.
Was it? That was the motion by nominating? That was the motion?
Oh, I thought it was voted, sorry.
Oh, I don't remember
So do we
voting.
need to vote yes or no?
Yes, if you guys didn't vote, sorry, spaced out.
We did?
We did, Jeffrey asked us, we all said yes.
But she didn't realize she was making a motion.
I didn't-
But I said,
So is
I
that,
didn't, yeah.
okay.
Do it again.
It's been a long
It's been a
day.
very long
Do it again if
day.
you really want to rerun it. The appointment was made.
It was.
I'm gonna go home.
That's only
Okay.
water.
Let's move on to item number 17. Temporary mobile food vending application review and fee setting. Ms. Adams Jacob. Oh, Ms. Darla, you're going to read this for us. Hello, Ms. Odom. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Turn your mic on.
Let's try that again.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, and Miss Adams Jacobs. I'm Darla Odom. I am a contract employee with the town. I work for the Berkeley Group. I'm a principal planner for the Berkeley Group, and I've been working with the town, mostly with the Planning Commission and with staff for about a year now, right? It's been a year. And so I'm pleased to be here this evening. I had worked with the Planning Commission on the ordinance that you all adopted last month for the mobile vending vehicles. And you have an ordinance that you adopted. And I understand when it came from you to you from the Planning Commission had temporary mobile vending vehicles. And that was the term that was used, and that was the term that was defined as the Planning Commission recommended. But my understanding is, through your discussions and your adoption, you all said, well, we really were concentrating on food vendors. And I think, there was some discussion about maybe some vendors that may not be as acceptable if they had wares that were other than food vendors. But that was the adoption that you did. And so I know in your packet tonight, you have, I think, a copy of the ordinance that shows that staff did go back in and add the term food. Is that in the packet? No. I have a copy of that. So staff did go back in and add the language to say temporary mobile food vending vehicles. What you have before you this evening is a copy of an application for a temporary mobile food vending vehicle permit. And so on this form, this is an administrative form, and so we're going to talk about that. But what I wanted to do real quick is to just talk a little bit with you about, from an understanding standpoint of the Planning Commission, the reason that it was left open and saying mobile vending vehicles instead of adding the word food in there was to allow some flexibility, because there may be people that want to set up in town, and there's still a mobile vending vehicle if they want to show up and they've got permission from the property owner and it's in a business district and they want to show up and they bring their truck, and in the truck they have a table and they set the table out. That's still considered a mobile vendor. And so the thought was, and I've used this in some other localities, is to try to open it to have some flexibility that if it's a candle maker or a local person that makes jewelry or has all of these crafts and things like that, that those would be covered under this permit. My understanding is that you do have some of that occurs in town. And there's a couple of spots, I think, like with the farmer's market, everyone that comes to the farmer's market is not necessarily fitting under, the definition of a farmer's market. So we were trying to open it up a little bit for that. And I wanted to take a little bit of time because we were thinking about, you've already adopted this now, so it says the food vendors, but we were looking at, as we try to think about these other areas in town that may need to be covered, right? What were the concerns that you all had if we at that time want to open it up and not only say food? I heard a little bit about some ice cream sales, or
we had discussed, I know you shouldn't use name brands, but it's the only thing that comes to mind. Like the Good Humor truck used to go through town when I first moved here. The kids loved it. They'd hear the bell and go running down the street. There are businesses in town, the Snap-on Tool Man. There's more than one tool company, but they drive around and will stop at the different garages to see if any of the mechanics want.
And so was that a concern, or were those things that you were trying to cover?
I wanted to make sure that we weren't so tight that we didn't allow some of this stuff. I felt we needed to be a little more inclusive, but I didn't vote on it.
I brought up the Good Humor thing because we've already got an ice cream parlor that's established business in town, so why do we want somebody else trying to take over their business or take their business away from them?
And I will say to you that in looking at other ordinances, that most of the time an ice cream vendor does fall under the mobile vending vehicle definition. It still covers an ice cream truck. They're required to have some of the same regulations through the health department. A little bit different if it's prepared versus prepackaged, that kind of thing. But oftentimes where people are concerned about that is they will limit an ice cream truck within a certain district, or they'll say, well, if it is it's either not allowed in a residential district, or if it parks along the street. Sometimes I've seen those have a time limit. Now, obviously that's something that's an enforcement issue, but so there's some of those things that can be written into the ordinance if the ice cream trucks are concerned. I guess what I would say is I wanted to make sure that as we're looking at this and bringing it forward, would you be opposed to opening it back up to say mobile vending vehicle? without absolutely having to have the word in it. The way it's written right now is I can't sell my earrings that I'm making or my whatever else unless I sell food. And I have to sell enough food that my earring or candle sales are incidental to or an accessory to my food sales. And I don't, I know through the discussion, y'all had a lot of discussion going on. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that what that direction might be if we were to bring it back as we're looking through addressing some of these other issues in town and making sure that we're not penalizing some of the ones that are doing some of the things that they're doing.
In more metropolitan areas, you tend to have more of vendor trucks, not just food trucks. Again, fashion people with clothing boutiques. They can go from neighborhood to neighborhood. Their vehicle is their boutique. Their customers come in. This is a common practice in most of our larger metropolitan areas.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially because brick and mortar costs so much. It also gives them more flexibility because they're not just bound to one location. I understand protecting our businesses. I really do, and that's very important to me. But capitalism is also important to me. And if somebody's ice cream is better than somebody else's, I shouldn't have to be forced to do this only because, we have more than one hardware store in the county. We have 2 hardware stores within a couple miles of each other. You don't thwart somebody's ability to make a buck because somebody else already has a business like that. If that were the case, we wouldn't have any duplicate businesses in town. We wouldn't have Family Dollar and Dollar General. That's just my opinion.
I'm confused. So just clarify, because food trucks, for me, in my head, especially coming from New York, street food is the ultimate. You have a food truck, you drive up to the curb, you stop there, food, you go. Our ordinance is totally different than anything I've ever seen. You must be on private property. And I get that, I wasn't happy with, but I'm flexible. So, are you saying that the Good Humor truck that has been driving around forever, doesn't drive anymore, just driving through the neighborhood and not stationary as our permit is requiring, is a food truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if this is on private property and stationary, we are requiring, if Mr. Goodhumor comes around through the town, then what he is doing is illegal.
He wouldn't be permitted. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Under the ordinance that you have now. And so that was part of the discussion that we were having with, right. I was having with Ms. Adams Jacobs and myself and staff and your attorney about, some of these types of things that maybe you do want to address, which we can think about once we get your input and bring something back to you. And then also to, as far as from an economic development standpoint, and I've heard a lot of different people speak on this because, you hear the argument of a mobile food truck taking away business from a brick and mortar business. And, I'm not an economic developer. I used to work in economic development, but that was very early on in my career. But what they'll tell you is that it's a different market. That people that, and I'm not saying it always is. I mean, I might go to a food truck or I might go to a sit-down restaurant, but usually they play off each other well, and they actually bring more people in the area. Some people are going to go to the food truck. Some people are going to go, didn't know that restaurant was down here. That's a great idea. Let's hit that. So I think, and also from a market standpoint, we have to be careful from a zoning and a regulation standpoint of picking and choosing, right? And so there's a little bit of and we're going to talk about this policy that I want to see if you all will consider adopting this evening. And it does talk a little bit about a certain distance. They have to be a certain distance from a restaurant, that kind of thing, but it doesn't speak to what type of food truck can or can't be here, because I think that's where you start to run into the market issues. But are there any other concerns or reasons that you all really felt strongly about putting the word food back in here?
So that actually was
Yes, ma'am.
I created this, I guess. And the reason I say that is when we saw this originally in, where are we, February, in December, it said food, mobile food. When we got it last month, food was out, vending was in.
That was my doing. I did that part.
My question was, what happened to food? Because in the code, it says if you are a food truck, you can sell T-shirts and ancillary items. You can do that. It doesn't have to be just vendor. So the word food for me I just wanted food truck, because if it focused just on vendor, my thinking was we have more vendor than food. And I think in this town, that can be a challenge. I am totally all for this, and I think we can have food truck, vendor trucks, farmers markets, et cetera, in addition to our merchants, because flexibility with merchants is just as good. I just don't want it to overwhelm vendoring, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. I do understand that. And I think that, obviously, the trucks that have the food, those are the most popular, even if they have something that they sell separately. And you don't see as many vendors that just have the example like I was using, like the homemade jewelry or whatever. But you do have certain times in town when the farmers market is open where you do have these mobile vendors that may be what they brought, right, was something of that nature, but they're taking advantage of the audience of the farmers market, which is a great thing. And so I appreciate your input. We'll take this and we'll talk about it and come back with you on something. We weren't going to just automatically say, well, let's, advertise something for next month, because it would be an amendment. So we'll look at this and bring something back to you.
Valerie? Frankly, mobile food vending for me is fine. I'm cool with that.
Right. Would you be fine with, and again, we'll still bring it back because we would need to do that.
Right.
It has to go back through that process. But you would be fine if it didn't say food and it was just mobile vendors.
Just got a real big thing of it.
Well, one of the other things we brought up was, with the way things are going and the kids in town, if we just say mobile vending and somebody comes in with a bunch of marijuana paraphernalia or marijuana, because they're going to be legalizing that. Yeah, I don't care if it's legalized or not. I don't think in town, around the businesses and around little kids in the ice cream store or around the schools, it don't need to be there, period.
And I will say to you that that's one of the things that was mentioned, that y'all had brought that up. And I don't think that we're going to have to worry about mobile marijuana trucks. We can talk about
regulated.
Yeah, and the reason for that right now is that the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority, that's going to be the group that are going to issue permits for people that can sell marijuana legally, and those are going to be limited, we feel like, in the number of permits. There are two bills, and if you all want to write these down, it's House Bill 642 and Senate Bill 542 that are in the General Assembly now that are going through, where they're having all these discussions. What? 826, not 542? Oh, there is another one, and Senate Bill 826. Okay, so there's three of them.
Yeah.
And then they were going to have limited, there's going to be some limits on local authority, because the best we can understand right now is that this group is going to say who gets a permit and who doesn't.
Yeah.
But the local governments will still have some authority. We just don't know what that will be. But I don't believe it's going to be in mobile vending units. So we'll bring that back. I appreciate the, hearing the input so that we can do that. What you have before you, and you should have gotten passed out to you today, is what you'll see is a temporary mobile food vending vehicles policy. Did y'all get that at your places? Okay. So what we'd ask for you to do this evening is, if you would, is to look at this policy. The language in this policy and the language that you had in the permit are the same.
Right.
Right? But what we wanted to do was formally adopt a policy, because as some guidance was offered by the town attorney, rather than, since the ordinance is pretty straightforward, like, here's the definition of it, here's where it's permitted, that the council would adopt a policy that would include these rules and regulations. The town will administratively make sure that the permit basically looks like this, but the town council doesn't need to actually approve the permit application. We're actually seeking for you to adopt, if you will, this policy, includes the same regulations, mobile food vending vehicles must be a minimum of 100 feet from a residential zoning district. They must have a current valid license from the Virginia Department of Health.
So that would eliminate the Good Humor Man.
At this point, yes, it would.
And again, that's the beauty of it. They're driving through the neighborhood.
So a Good Humor Man will have to be on town property, on private property that's Zone B now, to be valid.
Why are we doing 100-foot distance? I mean, we have plenty of business and residential that touch one another and are right at 0.
Well,
Just curious.
This went through the planning commission discussion, and it's based on some of the practices that they had the opportunity to look through some of the practices that were used in some other localities, and this was where we ended up. I think that, the idea was to keep the business, the noise, all of that away from a residence, but I'll let one of your planning commissioners speak.
I thought we lowered that too. There is one catch here on the policy thing, did not get updated with that correction we made at the last planning commission thing. So the policy says 5 days while the permit says the 10 that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yes, sir, you're correct.
That's fine. I'm just bringing
So
that
it's
up. But
3 consecutive days and no more than 10 calendar days
that
per
was
month.
what
That's
PC's
it.
final recommendation
We did raise it.
Yep.
But the 100 feet, I really thought that, because we talked about that a lot, I thought we had lowered the recommendation of that, but I can't be 100% certain of that, but I thought we had.
Well,
I was making some comments about my own house with commercial next to me, saying that we didn't need 100. But, that's open for...
Well, and the planning commission did not codify this. This is a policy, and if you guys think that it would be appropriate to reduce that or not have it, then, that's why we want to have that discussion.
Yeah, I'm not saying that any of these people would want to do it, but just for example, Gibsons, say they decided to have a food vendor to, come in, on a weekend that serve, hamburgers or whatever, but that's right beside a residence. I would see it would be appropriate for them to have something there, to go with their ice cream and, I don't know, so. I don't know, just the distance.
To your point, you were concerned about we're going to be overrun with trucks and all of this.
Oh, I don't think we'll be overrun with trucks.
I don't see that.
I don't think we're going to do.
I don't think that. I don't think that many trucks. I don't think that this is going to be a big issue, because quite honestly, because of capitalism, you go where there's business. You're not going to drive your truck necessarily to a little town of 1,200 people where most of them are at work during the day, when you could be up in Fredericksburg making big bucks in a bigger area with more people.
What concerns me here, even though I went ahead with it, is the fact that it has to be on private property. you have businesses here in town that are not open on Sunday, they're not open, especially on Monday, nobody's open, which is a prime time for a food truck, a court area, et cetera, places like that. But none of these food trucks vending can just pull up to the curb like in normal places they do. They have to be on private property. They're not going to want to do that.
No, and whose private property is going to let them on there?
In my head again, I'm like, then what's the purpose of even doing this? You know, how many, a valid license from Department of Health, I'm selling bracelets. I'm selling, what do I need as something
that
from the
went
Department
back
of Health?
for your thing for being a food truck. You needed the Department of Health to sign off, so you're not getting food
I see what
for
you're
it.
saying. Okay. If it was just bracelets. Exactly. I get that. I just, having something on private property for me is, you know, I don't know how many trucks or anyone is even going to take advantage of this.
On public property, that's town property too.
Well, no.
Well, we don't have much of that.
You know, it's envisioned and what we talked about is for the trucks to come, you know, it's likely going to be related around, maybe they find out that the food markets, the farmers markets happening, so they go, hey, those are some good days to go to Bowling Green, because people are going to be out and about on the weekend. You're not going to have the same volume of trucks that they have in Fredericksburg or, you know, somewhere else. I mean, if you go up to places like that, there'll be lines along streets where there's these office buildings and things like that. So you're not going to have that same volume, but you hopefully will have people that will take advantage of, and this will grow as a benefit to the town on these, at least starting out on times when you like farmers markets, but maybe it's related to, I forgot the name of that little outdoor market down the street here.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and in conjunction when you have events, planned events, things.
Well, a lot of the event stuff will be covered under the given event.
We had a gentleman, he passed away a couple years ago, but for the better part of 2 decades, he'd pull his old pickup truck in town. He had a peddler's license, Richard, yes. And he would park on the street, a lot of times in front of Pits and Mans, and he would sell his vegetables and his honey and all of that. That's not private property, that's on the street. So what you're saying is now, all of a sudden, if we pass this, that would become illegal?
Can I intervene for a second?
Yeah, please.
All right. So what you're doing is creating a new use. So you have a whole zoning ordinance that talks about other uses.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Other uses that may or may not already be permitted, either by right or by special exception permit. I haven't performed an exhaustive analysis of what other uses are allowed, because this has always been focused on this new use, right? So this use doesn't, by adding this use, you're not necessarily outlawing anything else.
Okay.
Because you have a whole zoning ordinance with other uses. It could be a peddler, it could be, I don't know.
That was my question.
Wayside stand is in your ordinance. You know, if you want to expand this to allow it on public rights of way, I think that's probably a conversation with VDOT, because this town doesn't own the roads. Right, so it may be a VDOT permitting process, and maybe you designate certain parts of the business district where, if a permit's obtained from VDOT and the town, they could be on the right of way. So there's all sorts of things you can do to massage and improve this.
Right.
But it doesn't, there's other things that are already covered under your ordinance that this doesn't
I
necessarily.
just didn't want this to nullify.
Yeah, now, that's something going forward we're looking at, because I do think this was intended, as came out of Planning Commission, to cover some existing other things. And now we need to, and since that wasn't adopted that way, I think we need to go back and look, staff's looking at, okay, did we inadvertently not cover some things that we were trying to cover that has been ongoing? And that's why you're being asked, like, are there other things that you're concerned about that have been happening, or other things you want to keep allowing? And as far as things like the Good Humor Man, to me, and maybe this needs to be fixed here, because a food truck to me is stationary. They drive to a spot and they're there for a certain period of time, usually more than the 2 minutes it takes to sell a couple, popsicles and move on. So that, to me, that's a different use. Now, but right now, it might be caught up in this one unintentionally, but also that's on a public right of way. It's certainly in a residential district. I mean, if we're not trying to, I don't think anyone wants to ban the ice cream truck from a neighborhood.
And that's my concern. I don't want
Right,
that.
but I don't think this does that unless we were to determine and enforce it, oh yeah, you are one of these, you don't fit all this, so you can't do it. So it could be that that use is already covered somewhere else, or it could be that it's now not covered. So that's all part of the picture that we're looking at.
India.
Yeah, just to chime in, the planning commission did talk about it being allowed or not allowed in the VDOT right away, and that the additional permitting process to go through that was something that at the planning commission level, they kind of explicitly said we should hone in these areas because we thought that could be a bit prohibitive for a food truck to have to go through that additional layer of permitting in the right of way. And then there were all sorts of concerns around trash in the right of way, as well as on our streets, as well as emptying of the grease trap, all of the things that come along with the food truck that aren't necessarily trash, but all of their other ancillary materials from the inside and what that could do to our streets. So they were pretty clear about not wanting it in the VDOT right away. And then the additional piece of this, I think, as Ms. Odom alluded to earlier, is not wanting to undo any of the things that we already have, such as the roadside stand or the Tinseltown market that occurs here at Town Hall. And so we do want to make sure that this encompasses what it was intended to, but not inadvertently take away some of the other programs and that have already been going on throughout the last couple of years in town.
Can a food truck show up right now in town and operate?
I think the question becomes, is it a permitted use if they are operating? And I think the answer to that currently is no. Well, yeah, the last, yes.
Now you can.
Correct.
If you fit the ordinance that you all adopted last.
Yeah. And I guess, right. I mean, I'm just saying, anybody that comes down, I mean, there was a big demand, they'd be here now.
There are people who,
and then we would say, hey, y'all need to get a permit.
Right.
We have had food trucks here before. We had that several years, 5-6 years ago. We had Glory Dogs. They were would park on your dad's property there by the suites. There was a place that would park down where that used car sales place is now on the corner. And they only came on Wednesdays. And it seemed like all the soldiers from the fort would come over there and get lunch. And so we've had food trucks. All of this originally came to Planning Commission because there was a fear that there was a landowner in town that had a vacant business, and there was a fear that they were just going to fill up the lot with food vendors. And initially that's how it ended up becoming part of the discussion at Planning Commission.
This discussion with food trucks started 6 years ago.
Yeah.
6 years.
Yes.
That's how long.
Yes, because they were concerned that a piece of property in town was going to have food trucks all on it, and we had nothing to address it. I remember when all this came to us, so.
And Madam Mayor, if I might, with your permission, is to say to you that I appreciate the discussion, because one of the things that we had a concern from a staff standpoint was that instead of it having more flexibility, which we were trying to incorporate but still have some rules in place, was that the action that said, well, now it's only just food and these other types of things like Tinseltown, it has to have food and accessory, the things that might be sold there. We wanted to make sure that you all were agreeing and saying, we had our discussion, but we really weren't trying to go that far. So you'd be okay with us researching and bringing something back with you to you that kind of pulled that back just a little bit, and making sure it wasn't just food trucks, but as your attorney said, making sure that we are including everybody or not excluding people that we shouldn't. As far as the policy itself, I know that I've heard some comments about, well, we didn't think that we wanted the 100 feet from a residential zoning district. And I don't know, I don't know if you all are comfortable taking action on this, if you want to talk about changes, if you want to look at it. Like I said, it is the same language on the application. The fees were going to be rolled into, not adopted tonight, but rolled into your other fees that are going to come before you during budget season. And we don't envision, right now it's falling under a zoning permit, so it would be to have the same fee as a zoning permit, which I think is $50. Is that correct?
I think the planning commission recommended 70, but after looking at our current rates, we already have a rate structure for what is a itinerant vendor, and that's essentially, we think that it would couple well with that to just have the $150 fee, and our system is already set up for that, so we wouldn't have to do anything additional in terms of assessing the zoning permit, and so we would recommend that you all just set it as a $50 fee because we already have that established, and then we formally codify that during the upcoming budget process.
Yeah.
By Ms. Cropper. When, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Darla, is 1.1 million comprehensive general, is that normal? Is
That's
that the
normal.
usual?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that high now? Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
If I have 2 for mine, it's crazy. It's not as expensive as it needs to be.
I'll tell you, it all started for me with why they changed the road. And I called someone from Planning Commission and I asked, why did you change this? I just needed to know why. Because we don't get that here. It's just, here's what Planning Commission, and for me, Planning Commission is, I've been on Planning Commission. They're the experts, they get this, they're helping us to understand. I just didn't understand why they changed it. And that's how this all started.
I know what my question was. How are we with these mobile vendors? How are we going about the collection of meals taxes?
Beat the crap out of it.
So currently, the food trucks that we collect meals tax from are those that are permitted during the special events, such as the Harvest Festival or something like that. But, with this policy and this permit, we would obviously give them the same meals tax forms and then would require them to remit their taxes by the 20th like everybody else.
And how do you know if they're honest about this? That's, I guess, because they could say, well, those sales were done up in Fredericksburg. They weren't done in Bowling Green.
That's a great question. Similar to assume that our customers and our local restaurants are giving us accurate information and are honest about their sales. So they would have to.
Yeah, but they have
remit their-
register receipts and they're in a fixed location. So you do have a way to kind of go about that. Somebody's moving around, they can deny they sold it in your jurisdiction.
So, if we are permitting up to 10 days per, month, then presumably their gross sales would be whatever they were based on the days that they set up and operated. So if your question is, are we going and checking their sales at the end of whatever their setup and their shift is for the day, I don't know that that's going to be the case.
It's not feasible.
Yeah.
It cost us manpower hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
So.
But I just, again, I was curious what our.
We would send the request just like again, kind of like we do on the events days, and not saying that, we can adequately project, but I would imagine that some of the food trucks that would be interested in operating here operate during our Harvest Festival. And granted, Harvest Fest, we see excess of 8,000 people. any given farmer's market Saturday, I think from data that we've seen from the Main Street transformation work, it could be 2,000 people on a Saturday. So, I mean, you could possibly break down a percentage and say, well, maybe that's what that percentage would be projected out over 10 days in a month, or every farmer's market Saturday for the season. But we wouldn't have a specific way to track if that is the question. So we hope that people are honest.
Any other questions from this council? So do you want to take action on this, or
If you have to bring some other stuff back, I say hold everything.
hold off for one more month? As Gene would say, we're kicking it down the road.
Only feedback that I would request is if you have specific questions about, obviously we'll make the amendment to the 10 days per month, but if there's feedback on the buffer and then the dollar amount, just because I know we're quickly approaching the farmer's market season, and I don't know the date offhand. Yeah, and so if it's next month, I would anticipate folks starting to ask me if they could set up, and so just anticipation of if council's, the goal would be to adopt this by next month, if that's y'all's desire, just so that we are clear on what the changes need to be.
I mean,
I don't like this 100 feet. I mean, again, I'm with Daniel. Your business is right next to residential property. You're excluding all kinds of property with this 100 feet.
Yeah, there's one guardrail already that says that you have to have permission of the property owner to be on it.
Yeah, I think that is just excessive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine dropping it to 50. I guess while my mic's on, I'll give my other quick feedback just to get it all out. Although I wanted to reflect Planning Commission's last discussion about that 5 to 10. After some of my talks with some folks, I have kind of wanted to maybe pull the reins back a little bit and be more strict. So I would...
5 to 10, what are you talking about?
The either 3 consecutive days.
Oh, yeah.
And not more than a total of 10 in a given month.
I erred on the higher side.
Yeah, and a better start point. And just after some of my talking with folks, I've felt a little bit different. And so I'd want to, on a personal note, want to chop one of those things, either 2 consecutive days instead, or maybe drop the 10 to 7. But that's I'm just giving my feedback while I have the mic on. The drop the 100 to 50 feet is where I'm at, and I think the only other real feedback from me would be I'm one of not wanting to have any primary merchandise vendors, just the food trucks.
John, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I don't. I think sitting it back and letting them work on it a little bit is a good idea.
Well, I'm fine with that $50 thing you were saying. That's cool.
Yeah, right.
Can we just send this back with you? Is that what council would like?
Yeah, I mean, so what was the consensus with, Jeff, you're saying you only want food?
As the primary use thing. Yeah, I mean, that's where
I'm saying if I sold pocket knives and I wanted to bring my pocket knife thing and.
Thought we were trying not to have a whole bunch more discussion. Okay, I'll.
No, I'm saying, that's what you're saying.
Okay.
More stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
just restricted.
I'm of the opinion, I like to leave it as open as we can until we have a problem, then we can ratchet it down.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight too hard on that, but I will explain the point through discussions I've had when it comes to merchants and vendors. Feedback I've gotten is liking the things that we have, the special events we have, so whether it be Tinseltown or the Harvest Fest or whatever else, those things are nice events for that. So I have talked to some folks that don't want that watered down for one thing, but also not, hold on, the internet's doing a thing. Okay. That extra vendors of various things, whether it be candle making or jewelry or bracelets or whatever, is, how to say, it's that common thing of the small town nature thing. the business thing.
Is it, we're here every day, we're paying taxes, paying a water bill, and they get to come in and take profits
That too,
without
that's not
having
really
to
what I
do-
was really going with.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
At the same time, I go back to, we are a capitalist
capitalism is the main
country.
thing, exactly. That's why I'm saying I want to represent these things that I've had the conversations for, so I want to mention these things.
Okay.
And it's a character aspect of, things that were said about the Harvest Fest, like, the Harvest Fest has gotten a little bit away from harvest, and it's a bunch of knickknacks that you're buying sometimes. I've heard that complaint a few times. And so I've extrapolated from that with talking to folks that that's a concern with vendors. I'm just passing that on.
They won't stay here if nobody's purchasing.
And that's the excellent
Again,
point.
that's the beauty of capitalism. So that takes care of itself.
And that's all. I wouldn't have minded having any kind of total cap on potential applicants, just to head off that one potential thing I think you mentioned of, there's a parking lot, we could fit 30 in here, let's have 30. That's the only other guardrail I'd really even consider. I really do like most of this.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Sure. On the cap, do you mean a cap in terms of how many could be approved as a part of the program, or just a cap based on a physical location?
Either or, well, not either or. Definitely the location one potentially, or operation at a given time, because I know they have to put their time on here. That honestly, that would be a better administrative, if you were okay with the cap, which way of implementing that would be easier for you? Would it be by location or within 100 feet of location, or just a total one because if we were to have a food truck rodeo, that would be a special event.
Yeah, that was my question.
So that wouldn't really fall under that. But if you had a business owner here, because it has to be on business, that wanted to have, I've got space, my business isn't open on Sunday, so I may as well make money and rent out to 20 people in my parking spaces. Do we want that or not? And so that would be, what cap would you hold on that if that's an interest in anybody else's way? But does that make some sense?
So who said anything about the owner renting it? Say anything about
Well, permission.
rent permission to do things?
Well, I would anticipate some of this possibly being a rental situation.
I'm gonna let 50 people come in my back parking lot, I'm gonna charge them $10 a trailer.
Put them in the town hall parking lot.
I've told your dad to put meters in back there.
You have all you need?
I think that's great. And I just want to say that we're okay, Mr. Attorney, that we have in the ordinance now, this is permission. Somebody comes in the office 2 weeks from now before we go back through this hearing process and brings a permit. We won't have a policy in place yet. And I know that was part of the concern about some of these standards not being codified. Are you comfortable with us? I guess we're bringing this back, the policy back next month to council? Or it would be before we're able to work out all the who and whats based on these discussions.
With that in mind, if that's the case, I think we could leave it up to our town manager. If they present everything they got and they're good, then she can say yes, or she could say no. Not to throw any more onto you, Indy, but I mean, yeah.
I think in the interim, until the ordinance is modified, you have an ordinance in place and you have a $50 zoning permit, and that's it, right? And I think, and then, it'll be a trial period to see if these buffers and things but I don't think you have them in place. I mean, if you want to adopt this policy tonight, you can do that. But it sounds like there's not agreement on some of the terms of it.
Well, and I guess, like I said, and I'm sorry that I'm continuing to ask the questions. I just want to make sure that there's clear direction for staff. And if someone comes in for a permit and they're handed this zoning permit, and here are your rules, are we legal in saying You can only be for 2 days. You can only be for 3 days. You have to be 50 feet from here. You have to
I
be,
think what's in the ordinance is what controls.
and that is just flat, you're permitted.
Yeah. In this use, if you fit the ordinance.
At this time, yeah.
So that's concerning to me. I'd have to, that's why it was like,
I think
is there
without
a
some
way?
clarity on the days and the buffers, I'm not comfortable with issuing permits as zoning administrator. So if council's not going to give me direction on that tonight, I probably won't be issuing any permits.
I don't think
until
we're
have
going to be
more-
here in another month anyway. It's too cold and too much bad weather.
And the farmer's market opens at the towards the end of March. So
Correct, but I
still have almost 2 months.
do know that people started reaching out
Yeah.
several months ago about the interest. So I'm not saying that I don't anticipate getting some applications. And from a promo perspective, if we have a web page kind of ready to go. And so I can tell people to hold off until council makes a decision. But if there is a consensus, we need to know what we need to draft for one. And then if I'm being asked to approve it, then I need to know
So
that.
I'm fine with 3 consecutive days, and I'm fine with the 10. Or even 5. 2 to me is too little, because if you have a long weekend,
Yeah.
it's a holiday weekend, you want that flexibility to have 3 days, so that's my thing. 150 feet, 100 feet, to me, whatever you decide.
Well, I think, yeah, council needs to make that decision now. And then, I think ultimately some of these terms need to be in an ordinance, not in a permit.
Right.
But I think what staff is asking is, in the interim, until we get to that point, because it could take a couple months, at least approve
Something.
this policy that can be, but knowing that some of these terms might come back in a form of an ordinance. And you can get rid of the distances if you don't want that to be in the policy right now. Or shrink them.
So you're suggesting we go ahead and just temporarily adopt this, or should we
Yeah.
send it back?
No, I'm saying adopt this policy for now so staff can issue permits.
You can
Okay.
change the policy.
Knowing
And we
that,
can just
knowing
do-
that, yeah.
Okay.
And ultimately, some of these provisions may come back in ordinance form once we sort of have the cleanup ordinance that is more holistic.
Okay, fair enough. John, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. I make that motion as presented.
I have a motion presented.
It's not
So
what you want.
no changes?
That's not what you want. You want to change the one thing to the 10 days permit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, as amended.
Maybe keep it at the 100 for now.
Until we look at it and it can be changed. That's what he said. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Is there a second? I have a second from Councilman Webb. Is there any further discussion? We still have a lot to do. Go ahead.
Vice Mayor Wood?
Yes.
Yes. Boyd?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Phew. Thank you, Ms. Darla.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any unfinished business, Ms. Adams Jacobs?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any further informational items?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I am going to open the podium up to public comment. Please state your name and address. You know the rules. And we have to legally, we have to do it.
It's been a long day for me too.
I believe it.
Please.
Oh, no, what am I supposed to do first? Sorry.
Say whatever you want.
Your name and
Name
address.
and address. Anne Marie Giles, 260 Roper Drive. Good evening, Mayor. And
Good evening.
members. I've been sitting back there with frustration like you would not believe, talking about the sidewalks. 7.5 years ago, I came to town council, not for the first time, begging for something to be done with the sidewalks. Now, this was unusual. I don't fault people for not having their sidewalks cleaned, except businesses, they want people to come. But this is not the only time that the sidewalks are not passable. I walk a lot with my husband. I walk a lot by myself. When he was at the voting booth this last Tuesday, I brought him lunch. When I got on Gill Street and I saw it was clear, I said, oh, thank God. I turned the corner, there wasn't 1 inch of sidewalk that was clean until I got to the ice cream parlor. But like I said, this is not the only time. Now, I understand there's something on the books that the people, whether they rent or they own, they are supposed to clean the sidewalks in front of their house. This does not happen. This does not happen. In a lot of places, it doesn't. And in a lot of places, it's dangerous. And I'm not exaggerating. It's not hyperbole. But nothing's being done. So I'm here to say it again. We need to clean the sidewalks. We need to and I don't know where Melissa put out a notice, because I was here begging for them to put a notice on the back of social media. Okay, that explains it, because I'm begging them to put a notice on the back of the water bill like they used to do, and I was told it couldn't be done. And I don't understand why it can't be done, but that's what I was told. Okay, done with that, because I'm getting nowhere with it, but at least the frustrations. I'm going to go past my 3 minutes, I'll tell you that right now. Now,
I am allowed to let her speak.
The other thing is, please don't do away with the yellow paint. One of the reasons it's on there in front of the ice cream place is, again, I'm not exaggerating. I went to cross the street and this man came around the corner and he didn't miss me by much because he couldn't see me. There were cars parked all along the street. Chase Street is not as broad as Main Street. They should not be allowed to park on Chase Street. Let people off, fine, let them off and then move out of the way. But there's a parking lot right next to the lodge. Whatever, the lodge. Yes, thank you. But that's important. I mean, I got the impression that you wanted the yellow. They're not enforced anyway. The yellow streak in front of Anna's place, people park there all the time.
Yes,
all the time. So they're not enforced, but it's really important on Chase Street.
Justin actually came in and spoke to the ladies at the Eastern Star because I told them they couldn't park there. And they said I was the mayor, I should be able to mitigate that. And so I brought Justin in to speak to them. And he explained they could put their flashers on and load and unload real quick. But then they needed to go park.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure. I mean, one day you could park there and the next day you couldn't. And the front of the lodge is so far down, it wasn't interfering in the corner, but people would park behind it.
Well, I don't know if I'm taking credit for this because I screamed. When that happened to me, it scared me. Because I'm telling you, the man came very close. He was coming around the corner very fast. And I screamed to everybody that would listen, to the town chief, to Scott Mosier, to a deputy, anybody who would listen, because it scared me. Now, the last thing, it'll only take me a second. He's not here, but it's on record. Thanks to Justin Cecil, we can get out of our driveway because we don't live in a neighborhood where the neighbors look out for the neighbors. And my husband's not a young chick anymore, and neither am I, but Justin came by and he saw what a mess it was, and he called Jeff Seeley. Jeff Seeley came over. He cleaned what he could, and then Justin came back and he helped us out some so that we could get the car out of the driveway. So I just wanted to acknowledge that our chief of police goes above and beyond. We're lucky to have the two men on the force that we have, And I just want to acknowledge that. And thank you for the overage. I deserve it.
Thank you, Ms. Jives. I too would like to thank Chief Cecil. During these types of snow events, I call myself a snow widow because my husband has to do snow removal and deal with that, and I'm at home alone. I will tell you, Chief Cecil called me every single day to check on me because he knew I was at the house alone and to see if I needed anything, if I needed something from the grocery store. He was absolutely tremendous, and he didn't have to do that. So thank you to Chief Cecil, even though you're not here. All right. Any more public comments? Closing public comment. Member comments. John, do you have something to say?
Nothing to add.
Ms. Jean?
I say it's time to go home.
Well, we still have closed session. Jeff?
No.
Okay, good. Then we can move on.
Want me to read this thing?
Yes, please.
All right, I'll move that we go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel about a corrective action agreement with the Department of Environmental Quality.
I have a motion on the table from Councilman Voigt. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Councilman Hageman. Any discussion? No. All in favor, raise your right hand. We will take a 5-minute break to clear the town hall.
All right, Mayor, we're good.
Okay, we are back from closed session. And at this time, I would like to ask for a motion from council to certify the corrective action agreement. No. I'm sorry. Oh, we have to certify, we only spoke about,
Notion to certify, you know the routine.
I know, I told you, it's been a long day.
It's late. Roll call vote to certify.
A roll call vote to certify, we only spoke about what we went into closed session for. And I will ask the clerk to take the,
Yeah.
Councilmember. I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
Councilmember,
I certify.
Councilmember Davis.
I certify.
Councilmember Chanel.
I certify.
thank you. Now we can go to the other motion. What, are you gonna make a motion?
Mr. Attorney, can you state the motion and then I'll.
Motion to approve the draft corrective action plan with DEQ and authorize staff to execute.
So moved.
So I have a motion
I'll second.
that was articulated by our town attorney, seconded by Mr. Hageman. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. John, how about you?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Adjourned. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Good night,
You're
John.
welcome. See you guys.
Bye, John.
Take care. No.